Hitman. This small little trilogy of expansive maps actually has several games prior and 2 movie adaptations, but who gives a shit about them? The reboot trilogy has skyrocketed the popularity of the franchise thanks in part to YouTubers going on murder rampages to supply their wine addiction. But hey, isn't this supposed to be a stealth game? Players are supposed to be sneaking around, executing on perfectly crafted plans, and not be role-playing as Doom Guy. This is why this video goes out to the developers at IO Interactive to analyze and teach you how to manipulate players to play the game properly. In order to first learn how to approach the future of manipulating players, we must first look at how Hitman already exerts control. We will be mainly focusing on Hitman 1 for this video, because that's what I've played, but I may occasionally reference content from the other 2 games. So you guys currently have a few good tools in your arsenal, but many of them aren't working in your favor. Chief among them, the items. Some of them are fine. Lockpicks, coins, tranquilizers, poisons. These tools of the trade let players MacGyver clever solutions to lead to killing their targets, and are a good start. But everything else? Oh boy, everything else. So, guns are guns. I mean, yeah, they can go either way very easily. But unless it's silenced, it's more likely to encourage murder sprees. But then, there are the melee weapons. I'm talking crowbars, wrenches, muffins. All that crap is used for sneaking around, like opening doors or breaking stuff, or Muffin, you know, which is good. But then players throw these things, and it's game over. Oh my god. They're not mere projectiles, but goddamn homing missiles. Once a player aims true at a target's head, they are dead. No matter what they do, no matter where they go, the weapon follows. Even walls cannot stop these things. Of course, weapons aren't the only way to murder people. The main other way is through accident kills. These are great, and obviously meant to encourage discretion, which is what they're mostly used for, which is, again, great. But then you got stuff like,
How many is this going to take? I don't even know if it's possible. Has anyone done this? No, why am I even asking that? Of course no one's done this. How do you say wine in Spanish? It's a good question. Does anyone know in chat? Vino. How do you say human wine?
With a smorgasbord of killing options, it's no wonder players are so tempted to go. So then, IOI, how do you currently encourage players to go in the other direction? I'll start holding your hand later and tell you exactly what you should do, but I want to see your work so far. Let's start at the beginning. Before each mission, a mission briefing cutscene will play out telling the player why they should kill the big bads and complete whatever other objectives they have. There'll also be a smaller cutscene that plays out when the level is loading. These are fine, giving players story justification for their actions, but to be honest, most people don't care. While I was streaming, I was talking to a few more experienced players, and despite playing Hitman for years, they still don't know the story. Like, I know, so it's not representative of the whole fan base. But the point is, it doesn't impact gameplay in any significant way. All it does is make players like, okay, time to murder their asses, instead of giving them an idea on how to murder their ass. The in-game cutscene is a bit better since they'll usually tell the player where the target is, give them some direction. But then again, the methods by which they kill them is up in the air. So overall, cutscenes, moot point. Which is not ideal, but whatever. Players are there to play, so let's get into the gameplay proper. The maps are generally pretty good at encouraging exploration. In Paris, there's a literal red carpet to walk. Going forward along that will lead players straight to the first target. Cool. They can also go off to the sides, if so inclined. Both aren't bad options. For the former path, players can shoot the target straight up, or even shoot the chandelier to make it look like an accident. However, given the huge amount of fresh meat, people in the room, they probably aren't going to get away with it. Instead, they'll tail the guy and run into an opportunity for the other target. More on that later. Perfect. For the latter route, they can maybe try to scout out the other target on the second floor, or stay around long enough for this conversation to play out, find a completely different opportunity for the first target. Okay, I guess we should talk about opportunities now. But overall, maps are pretty good with getting players to strategize rather than go in guns blazing. So dotted around the map are certain NPCs with specific dialogue. These few NPCs will trigger what are referred to as opportunities, which are specifically tailored guides towards one of the objectives. You know, when I first saw these, I was just thinking, why the fuck are you giving players a tutorial on how to beat the game? Isn't that admitting your design is bad? But now I get they're actually super clever. In the prologue, it's very much holding your hand. But for the rest of the game, it's mainly just a waypointer. Following the opportunity will show players a signifier icon on where to go, but it's still up to the player to craft and execute upon a plan that will get them to the objective. In fact, it still won't complete the main objective for the player. It's still up to them to execute that final kill, and if they're cool, that final one-liner.
Oh, one last question. I'm just curious. You're nicknamed the Vulture. Why?
I find it's best to wait for the perfect kill.
Oh shit!
Carl Ingram finally gets what
Oh
he
shit!
deserves. Good riddance. Now let's get Marcus.
That was sick! That was badass! The door shut right as I did it, they didn't see!
If they fuck up at that point, there's no saving them. Oh, there's also intel, which is key information that the player is told specifically. It doesn't help the player immediately, but it may help inform strategies that the player can take advantage of. For example, in Bangkok, there's a lot of intel informing you about a Miss Carrington. This may inform players that, hey, maybe they should check her out, and hey, it may lead to an opportunity. The opportunities, though, are super cool and definitely get the player to follow the sneaky rule. However, it's still dependent on the player finding said opportunities on the map. Players can straight up just not find them, not track them, or even ruin them by being too slow or eliminating an important NPC at the wrong moment. Well, if the opportunities are optional, what's basically omnipresent and will get the players to behave how you want? The other NPCs. There are a few flavors to them. Citizens, armed, and enforcer. Citizens are mostly a non-threat, mainly just preventing crime things in their vision. If 47 pulls a gun or a body out, they'll either cower in fear or run for help. If they see a weapon on the ground, they usually run towards an armed person and they'll go pick it up or whatever. Speaking of which, armed NPCs are your usual guards, blocking off certain areas and frisking for illegal objects. They're placed pretty well around the map too, usually showing up in twos at critical entryways. They will shoot if the player acts suspicious in front of them, so that's another deterrent to violence. Let's go! They really push the player to find the right disguise or sneak in another way, so they get a gold badge from me. Both are problems for the non-spy type, but then the chatted up enforcers come in, threatening to fuck shit up. Denoted by a white circle above their head, they can see through certain disguises, so if the player acts carelessly, they'll expose them, and everyone will jump on them faster than the bullet shot through in the Colorado speedrun. Hey, these are pretty good! With all these camos walking around, players are sure to act more calmly. The large masses shouldn't be tempting at all.
How this is going to work is I need to incapacitate every single NPC, drag them all together in a pile, and then we're going to pull the trigger.
Right. They're fodder for the murder psychos. They directly enable the crazy murder sprees. It's okay, we just gotta course correct. How do you further support the intended functionality of the NPCs then? Instinct vision. You fools! So on paper, instinct vision is great for stealth. This mode will slightly slow down time, highlight NPCs and items, denote people who spotted you committing a crime, and most importantly, show your targets in red. Using this mode helps orient players and helps them formulate strategies based on what is around them. But its use can lead to very, very different outcomes. Let's go to my playthrough of Marrakesh, for example. Here's the target. I'm disguised as a security guard. He's waiting to meet someone. Meanwhile, he's just walking around this floor that's littered with potential witnesses and enforcers that make it hard to tail him. I haven't gotten any updated opportunities or intel from listening in on his phone calls, so it'd be up to me to figure out how to approach him. I use instinct vision to keep track of him while avoiding any enforcers. I find myself on this walkway with only one guard keeping watch. It's a perfect place for an accident kill. I could just knock out the guard with like a soda can and push him over. However, I then spot another guard walking in using my instinct vision, so I refrain from the plan and wait for a later moment to kill him in a soundproofed meeting room. So hey, it saved my break-in. Nice. Keep me nice and stealthy. Well, for the most part. But on the other side of the spectrum, this was one of my Sapienza runs. Forget, run! So, I started going on a murder rampage. Out of frustration, but that's besides the point. I ended up holding the attic by accident and shot everyone inside. More guards were on the way, so I need to be ready to shoot my way out. Although, in retrospect, I could have just shot them as they entered the doorway. Anyways, I then started to use instinct vision to know where the guards were coming and planned accordingly. It directly helped fuel my psychopathy, which is like, oh, come on. There's gotta be something else here. Ah, classic. Points. You get a huge penalty for killing non-targets and not being stealthy. Oh wait, most people don't care about leaderboards, including me. This is fine. We need to go back to the drawing board. Wait, go back. We need to go back. Go back. The save system. That ought to save this. In normal difficulty, you have 8 save slots to work with and use it however you like, along with autosaves. This lets players experiment with tons of stuff, going back to earlier parts of the stage if a certain route just isn't jiving with them, trying out certain technique and a bunch of stuff to keep mentioning up. And
is that?
I gotta control myself. Just throw people into the wine vats.
save the game, murder rampage, then go back to stealth. Huh. It enables both. Let me look at this all again. The weapons do both. The map with the NPC placements do both. Instinct vision does both. The score, who gives a shit? Hitman is not a stealth game. That's it. You sneaky so-and-sos. You SOBs. Hitman is not a stealth game. It's just a sandbox to get to point A to point B. Good fucking luck, pushes player. And then either they'll follow the opportunities and it's be sneaky or improvise with their little friends. That's why the trilogy is called World of Assassination. It's an open world to explore. That's why there's such huge emphasis on replaying levels, to try out different routes, to play on different difficulties with different loadouts or whatever else. Just not just one thing or the other, just one and done to kill. So with that in mind instead, what behavior do we want to encourage and what can be implemented to get that along? Considering its current paths, I say go nuts with it. You can see the Colorado speedrun. The player stands on a freaking muffin to get height to make their shots. For leaning into the sandbox thing, for crying out loud. I don't know, give them boxes to stack. Minecraft that shit up. It's a sandbox, let's get creative. We can also encourage both sides further. For the murder psychos, give them like a BFG, maybe like a rocket launcher, so they can RocketJump. Help, a lightsaber, why not? Actually, wait, no, the murder psychos are weird. Like they like using fishes and muffins and ducks and crap. Give them like a whole carnival of just stuff. Let them throw basketballs to dunk on enemies, or giant stuffed bears to swing around, or hell, stuff bodies in, or hell, become the bear. For true hitmen, give them more means to act sneaky like. Maybe longer range projectiles that aren't sniper rifles like shurikens, or different ways to get around, maybe like a ninja or shuffling around in a cardboard box. So, there you have it. How Hitman manipulates his players, and how IOI can keep up this sense of controlled freedom for the next game. Question now is, who's next? Oh, they're making a James Bond game? No, that definitely still applies. I feel like James Bond is definitely kind of got to kill people. You know, I'm sure they like murder rampages too. I don't see why not.